Hello everybody, it's the 26th of July today, and some of you may remember this little star magnolia that I bought. I believe it was the beginning of this year, but time goes on. It was certainly repotted this spring into this large seed tray to get it used to being in a flat pot with a flat root run, and I'm hoping, because it flowered this spring, just the one flower, right, that I'm going to get more flowers off it next spring. And I'm planning on making this a Timey Wimey video, which will include flower next spring. What I'm looking at the moment is, does this tree have any kind of front? And realistically, I think this is probably the better view of the two. And what I want to do now is to just give it a bit of a trim and just remove some of this long growth. I don't want to remove everything because I don't want to lose flower, but I think there's enough time left at the moment for it to shoot again, for that wood to ripen and flower next spring. I say think, I don't know for sure, it's a hunch and a hope, I guess, but it's growing out in some strange angles and some strange ways, and I want it to come back to looking more like a tree than a funny little shrub. Which is kind of how it's looking at the moment, and these long straight pieces are quite boring and uninteresting to look at. But as I say, I think this is my front. I may change my mind as time goes by. This piece that's growing right from the very base of the trunk here, I'm going to leave as a sacrifice branch, and we'll see how things grow. As I say, I'll make this a timey-wimey video, and we'll follow it through the rest of this year and into next spring. Okay, so it's the 21st of November, and the tree's still, well, it's just beginning to turn into some of its autumn shades of kind of grubby yellow. It didn't particularly enjoy that hot spell, I don't think. It seemed to soak through that, and there's only just now began to look a bit more vibrant. Well, I say just now, sort of October time. Obviously now it's going dormant. One thing I'm going to do is bring this sacrifice branch down and forward. I'll move the ubiquitous canvas scale out of the way, because it's taken over as the dominant apex, and I don't want that to romp away next spring at the expense of this. So I'm literally just going to pop a piece of fairly thick wire into the root ball there. And even though I'm not worried about scarring or anything, because this is, as I say, a sacrifice branch, and will go the way of the dinosaurs at some point. That didn't stay fixed. Get back in there. That's better. I don't want it to restrict the plant in any way. So that's basically, brought that down. I'm going to leave it on, leave all the foliage on, and come the spring, hopefully we will have some of those beautiful star-shaped flowers. A few weeds. Ow! Note to self, even very tiny stinging nettles have a bit of a sting to them if you're not careful. how you handle them. That must have blown in on the wind and seeded itself in the back of the pot there, making itself a blooming nuisance. Okay, so there we have it. I'm going to pop this back on the bench and then we'll come back and look at it perhaps February, March time, when it's got some flowers and I can publish the video for you to enjoy them too. 30th of March and the Magnolia blossom coming through now. So I'd share that with you a little more, and then it won't be long before this tree gets a bit of a trim back. So it's now the 1st of April, and finally the flowers have opened fully, and very pretty they are too. I think this tree's going to have to get a fair bit bigger because of the size of these flowers, and although this makes quite a nice little branch, I think I might lose this and start building ahead from higher up. It's the 8th of June, and well, as you can see, I've been having a few issues with my star magnolia here. Almost overnight it seems, and it probably isn't, but I suddenly noticed that the entire top has just been decimated and chomped and chomped and chomped. Now, I wasn't sure what it was at first, but there are slug trails, so making me believe that it is in fact slugs and snails rather than caterpillars or anything else like that. But they've certainly decimated this top. I've resorted to putting a few slug pellets down, which I don't like to do, but they seem to have targeted this particular thing over and above the trees next to it, which haven't had any chomping. So they must particularly like the taste of it. Did I say the date? I don't even know. It's the 8th of June now. This piece that was a sacrifice branch, gonna just bend down again because it's starting to take over the vigor, being higher than the rest of the tree. I'm gonna keep this branch on for now. I know I talked earlier in an earlier part of the video, or maybe it was in the last video, about losing this branch entirely. As the tree grew bigger to accommodate the larger size flowers, but with so much decimation at the top here, I'm going to leave it on for another year at least. It will help fatten up. That'll be a big scar when it's removed, if I remove it, or if this part of the tree doesn't recover sufficiently, then at least this is still healthy, if I can just get the critters to leave it alone. It's the 8th of August now, and the tree's been growing well. I gave in, as I said in the last video, last segment of the video, and put down some slug pellets, and what I found was that it was a couple of big fat old snails that were doing all the damage. Now they've been dispatched, the tree has begun to recover really nicely. Now, I've made a decision, rightly or wrongly, that I'm going to remove the lowest branch Not this lowest branch, which is a sacrifice branch, although I am indeed going to shorten that. What are you up to, Cooper D? Come here. Come here. No, come around this side. No, not that side. Here. Come here. Come here. Oh, you are awkward. You are a difficult dog. A couple of people asking me where Cooper is and how's he been. As you can see, he's enjoying this warmer weather, which has given him a bit of a reprieve, I think, from his arthritis. So he's given me a ball, which isn't a ball, it's an apple which has fallen off the tree in the dew drop, but it's as good as a ball to a Cooper. But there you go. Cooper. Coop. Coop. There you are. Mad as a box of frogs. Anyway, back to the tree. I have actually cut back that sacrifice branch a little because it's, well, frankly, I keep catching it as I walk past the bench. So it's been sticking out. Can remove this bit of wire now, cutting in, but that doesn't matter because that branch is going to go anyway. And yeah, then, as I was saying, I'm going to remove this lowest of the low branches. Yeah, it was an interesting little branch, but it was too low, and that this branch is almost coming out of the front, but I think if I rotate the tree slightly, I can use this piece of wire to put a bit of movement into these two lower branches. That's a bit more pleasing. I don't have to be too exact. As I've said many times, if there was a competition for wiring, I would come last almost every single time, but that's at least holding them in a much better angle. And now I can find a short piece in amongst my odds and ends here. Just to bring those two pieces, if I can do that without catching the leaves. Again, down and dirty. Bit of wiring, but that's better. I didn't want them too splayed, too far apart. And although it's a little bit late, I may lose a few flowers. Just going to shorten those slightly. Okay, and I think, with this being my new front, I might even shorten that a little further, and we'll call it a day here. And I'll say thank you so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Do all the usual YouTube things, the liking, the subscribing, comment below, but most of all, please stay safe, everybody.